take note that
you are blocking people there. Goboa, let's come this side.
that is our chief guest arriving. His Excellency is meeting ministers, the service chiefs, the director CID is now going to take the Inspector General of Government, chairpersons of the Prosecution General of Prisons, the Deputy Inspector General of Police, heads of international organizations, members of top management of the Office of the Director. With your permission, Your Excellency, may I introduce the guests in this meeting.
Near Djibouti, actually on this hill here, I did not remember that the CID headquarters was nearby, because I was busy breaking the law of that time. There was a slum here, I don't know whether it's still there, where one of our people called Abbas Chivazo, the Sabawejiri, the head of this ghetto, what you call ghetto now, he was staying there. And I used to come from Tanzania and stay with him there, just near here. That was the last time. The other time I came to see Prince Badru Kakunguru, somewhere nearby. But otherwise, I don't think I have visited the police, the CID headquarters. Now, during that time, during Amin's time, I don't think the government was emphasizing the CID. Actually, the head of the CID had been killed. Hassan, the Indian, had been killed, and his deputy, there was another one called Festo Wauyo, had been killed, and then the others were in exile, Kanyom Sai and others. So at that time, the CID was not being emphasized. I think they had shifted to Aritowiri in Naguru. There was something called Public Safety Unit or something like that. So that's why I comfortably stayed nearby here without the CID knowing that I was there. In Amin's time, the big incident I remember was when Amin was, they tried to assassinate him when he was coming from here. There was a faction here, and when he was going away, they inefficiently tried to kill him. And thank Magambo for this effort of trying to make you belong to Uganda. Because really when in the last 65 years, when I've been closely involved with the issues of Uganda, what I discover is that many people don't really belong to Uganda in their work, in their thinking. If you do, it is easier to get solutions. And one way of doing it is the Nyankore proverb, which says, Okom toguri, enshuzun kuitegwa. The hairstyle depends on the shape of the head. If you have got a big head, then the hairstyle will go accordingly. I think the English, they call it, you cut your coat according to your cloth. You cut your coat according to your cloth. If you really, General Tafuri here knows how we were able to fight a very strong enemy with nothing in the bush, but we were using what was available and using it carefully and profitably. And that's how we built up. So therefore, what I've been doing with the Magambo's group, the CIDs, when he brought them to me, I've been, first of all, mentioning to them what was happening before the British came here. Before the British came here, we had these kingdoms. We had one big kingdom of the Batwezi after about 1400, when the whole of much of Uganda was united under the Batwezi. That's how you hear many of the Batwezi names in all these areas. Even Tanzania, even Congo, you find those Batwezi names there. If you hear names like Wamara, Wamara was a Mtwezi. Isimbwa, Kagoro, Ndahura, Ondaura. All those were Mulindwa. These are all were Batwezi names. Now, for some reason, that kingdom broke up about 1400. And then you had these small kingdoms, the ones we found here. Uganda, Nkore, Bunyoro, Rwanda, Karagwe, the ones of Tanzania. Now, those small kingdoms were inefficient and promoting war among us. And when the Europeans came, they picked them like grasshoppers. They defeated them. They tried to fight, but they were defeated because they were divided. Kawarega and Mwanga tried to unite late, when it was already late. And they were captured together and taken to exile. Now, so when the British took over, of course, that time, the economy was a pre-capitalist economy. An economy that was based on emyoga. This myoga we talk about. That word emyoga, I lent it to you from your history. Emyoga means exactly specialization, especially the ones of, you had crops, people of crops, you had people of livestock, you had fishermen, then you had the other myoga, the blacksmith, the carpenters, if you want, blacksmiths are called abahesi, carpenters are ababaizi. This is the Nyankore version, but you can put it in your own dialects. The ones who are making back cloth, they are called abakomaji. Introduced, they first of all killed the indigenous handcrafts. blacksmith, what they replace them now with imported items. Then in agriculture, they try to kill the indigenous agriculture and instead introduce some of these, what they were calling cash crops. So, in the 70 years, the British were here, they had created a small island of money economy. You can call it a small island of modernity. That's why in the 1960s, in the universities, were describing that economy as an enclave economy. Economy of a small island of modernity surrounded by a sea of backwardness. And by independence, 1962, the small island was comprised of what they were calling the 3 C's and the 3 T's. The 3 C's were cotton, copper, and coffee. The 3 T's were tobacco, tourism, and tea. I've been trying to challenge our people to give me the percentage of the people who were in the money economy in that small island. I've not succeeded very well, but somebody told me that by the census of 1969, the people in the money economy were only 4% of the population. The rest were outside the money economy. Then Idi Amin comes in. Now, when that small island of economy of money was giving us some goods in the shops: salt, sugar, paraffin. Although the people in the villages didn't have much money, but at least they would buy those, what came to be called essential items, which were also contributing to the tax. But when Idi Amin came in, the small island was destroyed almost. The tea sector collapsed. The tourism collapsed. The tobacco was still limping on. The cotton collapsed. The copper collapsed. The coffee was still limping on. So that's how the NRM comes in. When it comes in, when the economy had, the small island economy had collapsed. And the economy was characterized by magendo, smuggling, what they were calling chibanda. Chibanda was foreign currency black market. And then what they were calling okusamra, speculation. That's how the economy was by 1986. So, when you call yourself a public servant, they first of all killed the indigenous handcrafts, blacksmith, what they replaced them now with imported items. Then in agriculture, they tried to kill the indigenous agriculture and instead introduce some of these, what they were calling cash crops. So in the 70 years, the British were here, they had created a small island of money economy. You can call it a small island of modernity. That's why in the 1960s, in the universities, were describing that economy as an enclave economy. economy of a small island of modernity surrounded by a sea of backwardness. And by independence, 1962, the small island was comprised of what they were calling the 3 C's and the 3 T's. The 3 C's were cotton, copper, and coffee. The 3 T's were tobacco, tourism, and tea. I've been trying to challenge our people to give me the percentage of the people who were in the money economy in that small island. I've not succeeded very well, but somebody told me that by the census of 1969, the people in the money economy were only 4% of the population. The rest were outside the money economy. Then Idi Amin comes in. Now, that small island of economy, of money, was giving us some goods in the shops. Salt, sugar, paraffin. Although the people in the villages didn't have much money, but at least they would buy those, what came to be called essential items, which were also contributing to the tax. But when Idi Amin came in, the small island was destroyed almost. The tea sector collapsed. The tourism collapsed. The tobacco was still limping on. The cotton collapsed. The copper collapsed. The coffee was still limping on. So that's how the NRM comes in. When it comes in, when the economy had, the small island economy had collapsed. And the economy was characterized by magendo, smuggling, what they were calling chibanda. Chibanda was foreign currency black market. And then what they were calling okusamula, speculation. That's how the economy was by 1986. So, when you call yourself a public servant, to where? Of Uganda, or UK, or where? If you say you are UK, then of course you are in the wrong place, because this is Uganda. The Uganda I have described to you. So when we came in, fortunately we had spent a lot of time in these efforts. As part of the student movement, we had studied very well all this, not only the economies of Uganda and Africa, but the whole world. There's nothing that we didn't know about the whole world, because we had spent a lot of time as a student movement, as fighters in the bush. There's nothing we didn't know. So when we came in, we gave you very clear, many of you are young, but your parents, we gave them the way forward. And as we speak today, we have covered 4 phases. Phase number 1 was what we called the minimum economic recovery. The minimum economic recovery was aimed at bringing back the small island of modernity. Bring it back. Bring back the tourism. Bring back the tea. Bring back the cotton. Whatever can be brought. Copper has not yet come back, but we have been trying. So that was minimum recovery. but also remove Magendo, remove Chibanda, and remove Kusamla. And we did it by a number of stimuli, a number of measures, including liberalization and also allowing the shilling to find its level, to float the shilling, let the shilling, instead of trying to fix the exchange rate artificially at some figure, we say no, let it find its market price. That's why you find the shilling sometimes goes up, sometimes comes down. That's how we defeated the Magendo and Kusamla and Chibanda. So that is phase one, minimum economic recovery. Two was expand the small island, expand it, produce more coffee, more tea, after recovering more tea, more of all of that. And we have done that. You have seen how much coffee has expanded. It used to be 2 million bags. It is now 9 million bags. And we are aiming at 20 million bags. Then phase three was diversify the economy. Because the British had told your people that coffee was a cash crop, cotton was a cash crop, tobacco was a cash crop, but maize was not a cash crop. Maize was a food, was just food for eating. But we hear other people making money out of maize. In America, you hear people, like we had a president of America called Jimmy Carter. I don't know whether he's still alive. He was a groundnut grower. He was making money from groundnuts. Why would maize not be a cash crop? They couldn't tell you. And indeed, in the colonial times, these people are old, know that the packed maize flour, what they were calling maize meal, was coming from Kenya, grown by the white farmers there, because Kenya had been taken over by the Europeans. They were calling it the White Highlands. That those islands around Nairobi had become White Highlands. They are the ones who are producing the maize. Milk was not a cash product. It was just for drinking. So when we came in, working with some of the people, in particular I remember one person called Victoria Sectoreko, who was one of our agriculture ministers. We said no. Everything that has a market is a cash crop. So that's how we ended up making maize a cash crop, cassava a cash crop, milk a cash product, and all of that. Four is where we are now, the knowledge economy, making our economy produce products of knowledge, like automobiles, vaccines, electronics, and so on. So that's where we are now. Now, as we were doing all this, of course we didn't, the tax collection was improving, was growing, because when you talk of the welfare of the public servant, where do you get the money from? You get the money from the taxes. the economy. And the taxes are not only for the wage bill, they are also for the infrastructure, for security, for defense, and so on. So then you have the problem. How do I support the welfare of the public servants when I don't have enough money? That's why, but people don't listen to our advice. But from the beginning, we were very conscious of this, and we gave very clear advice. And our advice was, especially for the UPDF, we said, you people, we don't have enough money to pay what they were calling a living wage. I remember at one time the Makerere teachers went on a strike, and they wanted a wage from which you could live comfortably. But we didn't have the money to do that. So our advice that time was, why don't you get the small salary you get, but handle the issues of welfare collectively. In the UPDF, we encouraged the building of army schools. Why don't children of biological children, not relatives, not what, because that also becomes another complication. Why don't the biological children of the soldiers, and by extension you can say of the policemen, of the even other public servants, if they had listened to us, but they were not, many of them were not even listening to what we were saying. Even if I'm getting a small salary, but if my child is studying free in an army school, in a primary school, a secondary school, a technical school, maybe when it comes to university it may be difficult because it may not be easy to build army universities and so on. But at least these lower levels, our children could study free through our institutional institutional facilities. You address the issue of education of your children. Health can be addressed collectively by having